The human mind craves novelty and engagement. Give me 5 minutes of boredom, and I'll find something to entertain myself with. So it's kind of ironic that my favorite meditation app is called Waking Up. Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our series about living alone, which you can watch or listen to wherever you get your podcasts. And today we're talking about being alone on a Scottish island as a lighthouse keeper. I introduced you to the idea of spending time alone on an island doing whatever you wanted. And now we're going to put those ideas into practice with a little writing exercise. Let's get started. The air is damp even before you open your eyes. Salt clings to the narrow cot, the wool blanket heavy with a night's worth of condensation. Outside, the wind presses itself against the thick stone walls, whistling through cracks you've long since stopped trying to plug. You sit up slowly, careful not to bump your head on the slanted ceiling of your tiny sleeping quarters. The oil lamp on the wall flickers low, its fuel running out during the night. The sound of the sea is constant, not crashing waves here, but the deep, resonant breathing of the ocean, a sound so steady it becomes a second heartbeat in your chest. There's no need to check a clock. Your day begins with the light, and long before anyone else in the world is awake, you are up, pull on your coarse wool trousers and the thick, salt-stained sweater that smells faintly of kerosene. The floor is always cold under your boots. As you push open the narrow wooden door to the spiral staircase, the air grows sharper. The stone steps curl upward, slick with a faint sheen of sea mist that seeps in despite all the careful sealing. At the top, the great glass eye of the lighthouse waits. It's still dark enough outside for the beam to cut through the night. Slow, deliberate rotations that sweep the black horizon. Your job is to keep it alive. The wick needs trimming. The brass fittings need wiping, so no soot will dim the light. You work in silence, the sound of the sea below blending with the metallic scrape of your tools. Every movement is practiced. You've done this so many times that your hands know the steps better than your mind. By mid-morning, the light is dimmed. Daylight is here, pale and cold. From the gallery balcony that wraps around the lantern room, you can see the island in its entirety, a jagged crown of rock, tufts of stubborn grass clinging to the edges, seabirds wheeling and crying overhead. No trees, no shops, no neighbors, just you, the assistant keeper, and the lighthouse. Your duties spill into the rest of the day. Check the oil stores. Record the weather in the logbook with careful penmanship. Repair the rope lines. Polish the lenses. Mend torn flags. By afternoon, your body moves on muscle memory, but your mind drifts. You think of the mainland, the chatter of a marketplace, the smell of bread baking, the warmth of a fire in a public house. Here, the only warmth is the stove in the keeper's kitchen, which burns peat bricks slowly and unevenly. Meals are plain. Salted fish, hard biscuits, perhaps a bit of dried fruit sent in the last supply boat. You chew slowly, listening to the wind groan through the shutters. Evenings are quiet, but not restful. The work begins again before the sun is fully gone. You climb the spiral stairs, light the lamp, adjust the gears, wind the mechanism, so the great lens turns at its measured pace. Every so often, you step outside onto the balcony to breathe the night air. Sharp, briny, infinite. Somewhere out there, a ship's crew might glance toward this light, not knowing the face behind it, just grateful it exists. When you finally return to your cot, the damp wool and stone walls greet you again. The wind sings through the night, and you drift into sleep knowing that, come dawn, it will all begin again. Okay, that was quite a bit longer than 5 minutes, and I bet you didn't even notice. In a way, this kind of writing is like a Sisyphus meditation. We all know his story, right? He pissed off the gods by stealing fire from Olympus and bringing it to mankind. So they cursed him to spend eternity pushing a boulder up a hill, only to roll it back down every time he neared the top. But Sisyphus doesn't hate his life. Albert Camus, the absurdist philosopher, actually thought he was pretty happy because he had a task that gave meaning to each moment. That's what we want here too. We want to take something mundane and repetitive and infuse it with meaning. I'm pretty sure lighthouse keeping isn't hereditary. But if it were, the job description would be: quick learners need not apply, must love solitude, experience keeping fires burning through the night preferred. Applicants should be able to complete complex tasks methodically without the benefit of human interaction, must be comfortable with failure. Previous applicants have been known to get stuck on step 437 of the spiral staircase and have been unable to continue. To apply, please submit a resume and a brief statement about why you want to be alone. Our last exercise began with a mundane activity, waking up early and making breakfast. And then we let the details build on top of that to reveal the inner life of the narrator. What do we have here? Well, we have a strong preference for simplicity and routine. Notice how the narrator barely thinks about anything that happens on the island. There are no stories to tell, no one to tell them to. There's no news, no mail, no television. There's nothing to break the rhythm of days that are all alike. There's also a strong sense of place. The physical details of the island are important here. The cramped sleeping quarters, the damp wool blanket, the cold stone floors. These details serve multiple purposes. They set the time and place. They establish the physicality of the situation, and they create a mood of quiet desperation. The mental health benefits of nature are well documented. Spending time outside lowers our blood pressure and reduces feelings of anxiety and depression. But this isn't a nature walk in the woods. This is utter isolation. So, how does the narrator feel about that? Well, this is where the details start to betray the narrator's true feelings. The narrator says that meals are plain, and then goes on to describe them in detail. Salted fish, hard biscuits, dried fruit. Not exactly a gourmet meal, but maybe edible. The descriptions that follow are less appealing. Damp, dirty, cracked, uneven, sharp, cold. These words pile up until the final image, the wind singing through the night. Now, that could be interpreted a number of ways. Is the narrator lonely? Does the wind actually sound like singing? Or is the narrator hearing things? Maybe the point is that it doesn't matter what it sounds like. The narrator is so alone that they'll make it fit. So the question for you is, how do you hear the wind tonight? For more on this topic, I recommend the movie The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling. Thanks for watching and listening. Subscribe to our channel for more videos and join us on Patreon to get extra content. My collaborator and I have been working on a book about building habits for creativity. It's available for free with your email address. And if you sign up, we'll send you a weekly newsletter about the creative life. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, a fine line between courage and recklessness. There's also a fine line between imagination and madness. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to imagine some more mad scenarios that you might find yourself in. We're talking about being stranded on an isolated island, having to stay inside a lighthouse for weeks or months at a time. Of course, this is fiction. It's not likely to happen to most people. But why does this scenario play on our minds? Is it because we spend so much time indoors and away from nature these days? Do we have such vivid imaginations that we conjure up fantastical stories of being chased by tigers through city streets? Or is it because human beings have an innate fascination with anything that involves isolation, conflict, danger, power, sex, and death? Maybe it's all of the above. Whatever the reason, let's get into it. Your new position requires you to move to a remote island off the coast of Scotland. You'll live in a cottage near a small fishing village. Everything you need is provided, including a housekeeper. And you'll receive a generous stipend to cover any additional expenses. In exchange, you're required to serve as the assistant keeper of the nearby lighthouse, which was built in 1874 and automated shortly after. However, someone still needs to be responsible for monitoring the weather, making sure the light remains fueled and maintained, and dealing with any problems that arise. This will mean being on call 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. While storms and inclement weather are more common during certain times of the year, there are regular maintenance checks that need to be performed regardless of the weather. You don't need to climb the tower every hour, but you should check the lamp at least twice a day and fill the oil reservoir at least once a week. Luckily, the old propane generator was replaced recently, so keeping the light powered shouldn't be a problem. Plus, your salary is enough to pay for a few replacements of solar panels in case one gets knocked loose by high winds. Since the lighthouse is fully automated, the only real danger comes from the elements. Well, that and the fact that you'll be completely alone most of the time, although you'll be paid for 2 full weeks of work per month. Your housekeeper will take the first week off around payday and spend it with her family in Edinburgh. This means that for about half the year, you'll have to fend for yourself. You're more than capable of doing so, of course, but you'll be incredibly lonely. However, since you're being paid quite well for such a cushy job, it's not all bad. And besides, you're always welcome to visit the village if you feel stir-crazy. You could browse the gift shop, grab a bite to eat, or take a walk along the coast. Just beware of falling into the sea. There have been quite a few accidents lately. Still, it might be nice to have the company, and after a while, you start looking forward to your weekly trip to town. So every Friday, you take the old Land Rover out for a spin, run a few errands, enjoy a hot shower, and stock up on supplies for the following week. This routine continues for several months, but you're getting bored. You miss your friends, and you wish something exciting would happen. You've read all the books in the house. You've checked the weather stations every 90 minutes instead of twice a day. You've even started taking walks along the cliffs, just to get a better view of the sea. But there's nothing to see. Every day, the same crashing waves, the same cry of the gulls, the same salty breeze tugging at your hair. Sure, there's nothing wrong with the solitude, but a little variety would be nice. And then one morning, the skies grow dark. It's not the normal summer showers, but something more ominous. You can't put your finger on what's different, but the air is thick and heavy, like a physical weight pressing down on you. Looking out to sea, you see that the placid water has become choppy, churning like a pot of boiling soup. The waves crash against the shore with renewed vigor, and the wind has picked up whipping strands of your hair across your face. Your gaze follows the horizon, searching for ships, a familiar landmark, anything to explain the sudden change in weather. But the vast expanse of ocean offers no clues. It's as if the sea itself has grown angry, lashing out with no provocation. Despite the turmoil outside, the lighthouse stands firm, its sturdy presence a beacon in the brewing storm. Yet even its unwavering strength does little to quell the unease gnawing at your gut. As the hours pass, the wind grows louder, its mournful cry echoing across the desolate landscape. Rain begins to fall, not in gentle drops, but in heavy sheets that obscure your vision, blurring the world beyond the lighthouse walls. The storm rages throughout the night, each gust threatening to shatter the very foundations of your sanctuary. You pull your chair closer to the lamp, seeking solace in its warm glow. But even its comforting light seems to dim under the oppressive weight of the tempest. Fear takes root in your heart, whispering insidious doubts in your ear. What if the lighthouse, with its unyielding strength, succumbs to the relentless assault of the storm? What if the light flickers and dies, leaving you in total darkness, utterly alone in the face of the raging elements? With each thunderous clap and blinding flash of lightning, your anxiety mounts. The storm is a living, breathing entity, and you are but a tiny speck in its path, vulnerable and insignificant. The salty temps of fear mingles with the smell of rain and ozone in the air. You huddle deeper into your chair, trying to shut out the cacophony of the storm. But as the night drags on, your resolve begins to crumble. The solitude, once comforting, now feels like a suffocating blanket, stifling your every move. The silence between the storm's roars becomes deafening, amplifying the pounding of your own heart. You long for human contact, for a friendly voice to break the oppressive quiet. But there is no one. You are truly alone. The storm shows no signs of abating. The rain falls relentlessly. The wind screams incessantly. Dawn arrives, but offers no respite. The sky remains a bruised purple, heavy with moisture and menace. You step outside, bracing for the onslaught of wind and rain. Each drop that hits your skin feels like a needle prick. The temperature has dropped dramatically, and you pull your jacket tighter around you. Looking out to sea, you see that the storm has not yet reached its full force. The waves now tower like angry giants, their crests capped with froth. You hurry inside, knowing that the worst is yet to come. Hours later, you realize how right you were. The storm reaches its crescendo, a terrifying spectacle of nature's untamed wrath. Waves crash over the cliffs, sending spray high into the air. The wind, reaching a deafening crescendo, threatens to tear the lighthouse from its moorings. The rocking intensifies, and you cling to the handrail, afraid that if you let go, you'll be swept away in the maelstrom. Lightning splits the sky, followed by a deafening roar that shakes the very foundations of the lighthouse. The storm continues to rage for what feels like an eternity. You watch in awe and terror as the elements wage war around you. When it finally begins to abate, you step outside to assess the damage. The world is a mess, but the lighthouse stands tall, battered but unbroken. Relief washes over you, mingled with a deep sadness at the havoc wrought by the storm. The sea, now calmer, still churns restlessly, a reminder of the fury it holds. The experience leaves you shaken, forever changed by the ordeal. The lighthouse, once a symbol of safety, now represents the raw power of nature that you are so fortunate to have survived. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.